Hello, right. This is very awkward for me. The position, this trying to record on different system things just so it looks nicer. In my last episode of The Sims, which was a two-parter, I talked through the whole family tree of the trusts and everybody and whatever else, but I mostly focused more on the video side of things, and not the family tree that I spent ages trying to make up and whatever else. So I decided, I'll just do this as well then. So this is this is an episode that I really don't know what way it's going to go. It's just the way of it. So we're going to start at the top here. So the first couple that we have is Francis Trust and James Manhattan. So Francis and James were married, but things really weren't working out for them, so they eventually got a divorce. But before they got a divorce, they had a son together. They had I have to go here. So together James and Francis had one son, Benjamin Manhattan, and he had 6 different wives when he was around. But we'll go back to this trust. So Francis then divorced James because things weren't working out between them, and eventually they've all died now anyways, but so Francis then moved on and married Arnold Trust, and they stayed married until both of them passed away. And whilst they were married, they had one son. They had Argo Trust. So Argo is the stepbrother of Benjamin, or no, half brother. What am I talking? But whatever. So then Argo met Sarah, and Sarah was the daughter of Robert Rose and Teresa Rose. Sadly, Teresa died a long time ago, and Robert went through a real rough patch that he moved away with his family. That included Billy Rose and Christina Rose, Pearl Rose and Gregory Glamour, William Glamour and Avril Rose. So all of them moved away. They didn't take Sarah with them because Sarah had other ideas, other plans, so they kind of separated their ways with Sarah. But whilst away, Robert met this beautiful young lady, Doris, and the two of them then married. They didn't have any children, so that was their connection. And then they eventually came back and reunited with Sarah. And also whilst they were away, sadly, Christina passed away as well. So it was just Billy. Yep. And then back to the trust. So that was their connection there. But then Argo met Sarah. They lived together. Sarah Rose and Argo Trust, the two of them lived together before they got married. And then eventually they started loving each other and they got married. And they had 9 children, I think. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 children. Is that it? They only had 7. Well, they had 7 children. They were only planning to have 5, but they ended up having 7. Their first child, Luke, came along and they had a lovely time with him. And then a big surprise happened. Their next children came. They had triplets. They had Alfie the oldest, Jasmine the second oldest, and then Rosie. And then a little while later they had Eleanor. And then after that, Daniel. Daniel was a surprise. He came and he was called Jonah at the time. So Daniel's middle name is now Jonah. And then last but not least, Alyssa, who is about the same age as some of their children's children. So, yeah. And then, a little later, Luke Trust eventually got married to Diana Kind. Now, Diana Kind's backstory: she was the daughter of Vincent Kind and Norma Luck. Sadly, Norma Luck passed away as well. But luckily for Vincent, he met a lovely lady, Zahara Hart, and together the two of them had a child. They had Willow Kind. But Vincent Kind is the brother of Leonard Kind, who is not on here, and Leonard Kind also has a wife, Jessica, but Leonard was part of a band called the Sunrays, who also included Isaac Hart, who is this brother of Zara Hart, Derek Love, and Louisa Love. Not Louisa, Rosie Love. So if we go to Zara Hart now, you'll see Isaac Hart. He also has another sister, Catherine Hart, who is married to Oliver Kerr, and they have one child together, Sophia Kerr. And that leads us on to our next trust child, Alfie. So Alfie was married to Sophia. And back with the Harts. The first person aside from the trust that actually got married was Bethany, so their oldest daughter, and I think actually the oldest in the whole family, right? So their first child, Bethany, got married and married to Matthew Love, so Derek Love and Rosie Love, well, Rosie's sweet, but she's actually called Rosie Love, but the two of them. And Rosie and her brother Ryan were children of Sylvester Sweet and Rosita Sweet. Don't really have a backstory for Derek, but yeah, so two of them were part of the Sunrays band as well, and they had their only son. No, that's not true. They had Matthew, and a couple of years later, around the same time Bethany and Matthew had their child, Freya, Derek and Rosie decide to have another child, Robin. So this daughter, Robin, who is married to another trust, Daniel. And a little while later, Bethany and Matthew had another child, Tina. But if we go back to the Harts again, and we go back to the first marriage for the Trust was Rosie Trust. So Rosie Trust married Robbie Hart. That was where that connection came in as well. They were married to Hart. Jasmine married Maxwell Fortune. So if we go to the Fortune family, now the Fortune family, it started with Arthur Fortune and Jennifer Fortune. Sadly, Jennifer Fortune passed away, but luckily for Arthur, he met love with Ruby Rich. And Ruby Rich actually goes by Ruby Romance. She has one daughter, Bella Romance, who married Romeo Romance, and they had 4 children. They had Ernie Romance, who's married to Eleanor. They had Harold Romance, who's married, in a relationship with Freya. They had Harriet Romance, who's married to Georgia Hart. And they had Judy Romance, who's married to Mark Hart. Back with the Fortunes. So this was the most diverse family there is. We've got a gay couple. We've got Edward and Alfonso Kiss. Well, Edward Fortune, Alfonso Kiss. And Alfonso has a lesbian sister, Rosita Kiss, who's in a relationship with Samantha Pleasant. And supposedly I might be planning another child for it, but that's a surprise to me. I don't think I had planned that out. Fernando Kiss was their dad, and supposedly he's living. Don't know about that. These are just things I've added in here that I'm not entirely sure about. So yeah, and what have we got with Felicity going on here? So, and then Arthur Fortune also Arthur Fortune had 2 sons. So he had Albert Fortune and he had Edward Fortune. So Edward is in a relationship with Alfonso. Alfonso's sister's the lesbian. And then we've got Albert Fortune, who's in a relationship with Felicity, and they had 1 son, Maxwell, who is married to Jasmine. And that takes us back to there. Right, so we've done Rosie and that. So Eleanor was married to Ernie Romance. So we talked a bit about the Romance family. So Ernie and Eleanor, they were married. The Romances have 4 children. They had Harold, Harriet and Judy, and Ernie. Ernie was the second youngest. So Eleanor, so on and so forth. Next, Daniel and Robin are in love just now, but they are not married at this current point. So, but they are of age and they may very well get married anytime soon. So these are the next two to be wed. And then last but not least, Alyssa, a future relationship I have in mind for her is Teddy Sweet. So Teddy Sweet is the cousin of Robin Love. He is the son of Ryan Sweet. So Ryan Sweet is the brother of Rosie Sweet / Rosie Love. Ryan was married to Denise Well. It still is actually. And they had 3 children. They had Adrian Sweet, Danny Sweet, and Teddy Sweet. And I was quite happy with the way a lot of them turned out. I'm back with Alyssa. And now we move on to the grandchildren of Argo and Sarah. So the first couple to have children was Rosie and Robbie. They had 4 children. Well, their first child was Marlon. So that's him there. And then they had a set of triplets, just like Sarah. They had Zachary. No, they didn't. They had Alexandra. They had Lisa, and they had Oliver. I always forget about Oliver and Alexandra. I can only ever remember Lisa for some reason. But yes, so that's happened with them. The next person to have a child, I think, was Alfie and Sophia. They had 1 child, Lizzie Trust. Next it was, I think, maybe Luke and Diana, after some hard times. Well, maybe not actually, but they had Thomas Trust, because they were the lineage, and they also now currently have another son, but I can't remember his name. Next, Jasmine had a set of twins. She had Archie Fortune and Jennifer Fortune. And then Eleanor also had a set of twins. She had Ellie Romance and Joseph Romance. Currently, as it stands, no one else has any children in the Trust family. But as you will see, it's a bit odd here, because these two are cousins, like straight up cousins, but they're also in a relationship. So these are future relationships I had in mind, and with there being so many connections to the Trust, like there starts to be a little bit of, is it inbreeding or something, just weird strangeness. So first on the list we've got Thomas Trust. His future love is Natalie Hart, who is the daughter of Mark and Judy. Now Mark and Judy have 2 children. They have Avery Hart and they have Natalie Hart. Now Avery Hart is also in the relationship with another Trust / whatever, Jennifer Fortune, who is obviously the daughter of Jasmine Trust and Maxwell Fortune. And then Georgia and Harriet have a child too. They have Jodie. I haven't got a picture of her. And Jodie is in a relationship with William Glamour, who is the great nephew of Sarah. So connections there. Bethany and Matthew have 2 children. They have Freya and Tina. Tina is in a relationship with Joseph Romance. So again, another Trust connection, another thing there. Freya is in a relationship with Harold, so a romance connection there. So we go back to here. Like I said, it's very odd that cousins are mixing and whatever else. So Lizzie is in a future relationship with Christopher Honest. Now the Honest family is kind of non-existent. They're barely around. But if we look at the Honest family that starts with Jeffrey Honest and Linda Honest, they have 4 children, I think. Yes, they've got 4 children. So they've got Ashley Honest, who is in a future relationship with Adrian Sweet. Yeah, that's right. I was like, how is that possible? But that's true. Christopher Honest is in a future relationship with Lizzie. Olivia Honest is in a future relationship with Archie. And Zachary Honest is in a future relationship with Alexandra Hart. So a lot of connections there. If we go back to Lizzie. Right, so we did Lizzie, we did Thomas. Archie and Olivia, so that's a fine connection there. There's no incest or anything. Avery is in a relationship with Jennifer. Again, no incest, it's just a heart and whatever else. Okay, we did Marlon. Marlon with Willow. Now that kind... There's like a weird sort of connection there, because this is Zada's child, but that's like... Zada is his great aunt, so in a sense it's like a cousin twice removed or something like that. Zachary has no connection to Alexandra. So Jamal we've not talked about yet. So Lisa and Jamal. Jamal is the son of Vanessa and Samuel Devine. So Samuel is an ex-boxer and the second wife of Vanessa. Vanessa used to be married to Stanley Angel until they parted ways. Well, they separated, but they still live together and they're still happily in each other's company. But Stanley and Vanessa had one child as well before Jamal. They had Marco, and Marco is in a relationship with Danny Sweet, so again Rosie Sweet's niece. So that was the connection there, the two of them together. Two of them. Don't know what's this. Oh yeah. The reason that Stanley and Vanessa parted ways though was because Stanley turned out to be gay and he is in a new relationship with Lionel Lovely. So that's that connection there. We go back to Lisa. And I think that's all the children connected up. It's very incestual in points. I'm not entirely sure where I go from here. If we go to the romances, I didn't really talk much about the romances. So Ruby used to be married to Jackson Rich, and Jackson Rich just either died or disappeared or something. But then she found love with Arthur. But Ruby had one child, Bella, who married Romeo, who had 4 children, Ernie, that, and then blah blah blah. And William Glamour, oh, here's another connection. So William Glamour is the nephew of, the great nephew of Sarah, so another connection there. Now we got Billy Rose, her brother, Robert Rose and all that. I think I've covered all paths. So if we start back at Argo, well, no, having said that, I've covered everything to do with the trusts. So the trusts are connected to the Kynes through Diana. They are connected to the Hearts through Robbie. They are connected to the Cares through Sophia. They are connected to the Fortunes through Maxwell. They are connected to the Romances through Ernie. They are connected to the Loves through Robin. And they are connected to the Sweets through Teddy. So they've got a connection everywhere. And you might be thinking, oh, there's some families like the Honest and that. But if we go down to the children, obviously, the grandchildren, there are more connections down here. Right. They are connected to the Honest through Christopher and through Olivia. They are connected to the Hearts Part 2. So, oh, Natalie is Mark and Judy's child. So this is the Heart Part 2. They're connected there. They were also connected to Marlon Hart's, connected to the Kynes here as well. The Kynes Part 2. I'm trying to see if there was another family I missed out. They're also connected to Zachary Honest. All the Honests are married into the Trust family. They're connected to the Divine family through Jamal. They're connected to no one else. They're connected to the Love family down here too. The only family that they don't seem to be connected to directly is the Angel family. So that is, if we go to, where are they? If we go to Jamal. So we have Marco here. He's an angel, and we have Stanley. He's an angel here. Danny is the closest connection we will probably get. She is the child of Ryan Sweet, who is the brother of Rosie Sweet, and Rosie Sweet's children are in relationships with the Trust. That's the closest we'll get. There is no direct connection to the Sweets, if that makes sense, although Denise is quite good friends with Rosie, but that's really the only connection there is. Although, no, having said that, I'm an idiot. There's Teddy, who's in a relationship with Trust. But yeah, like I said, that's the closest connection. So we've got Teddy, who's in a relationship with Alyssa. That's the closest connection. Marco, Angel. There is no Angels in the Trust family lineage. Although that doesn't mean in the future, if Marco and Danny have a child, that their child can't be in a relationship too. Make sense? Yeah, and there's the grandparents as well. They're both dead. So having said that, that is the Trust side of things. Now onto my other gameplay. So when I first made the Manhattan, I had two playthroughs. I had the fun playthrough where I could do whatever I want, and I had the serious playthrough where I tried to get trophies. So Benjamin was my trophy hunter, and the first trophy I went for him was to outlive 4 spouses or something like that, and at the same time I was trying to get his triple play trophy. So I was having two things going on here. I can't remember if I got any other trophies around that time with him, but these were the two I was focusing on. So outlive 4 spouses or something, and have triplets. So his first wife Maria didn't last very long at all. She was just there to be a spouse, and then she passed away. Once she passed away, Benjamin moved on to his next wife, Cassidy, and together Cassidy and Benjamin had 2 children, if I can find them. They had Millie Manhattan and Molly Manhattan, unfortunately not triplets. Then Cassidy passed away sadly, and Benjamin moved on to his next wife, Cassidy. And together Dina, and together Dina and Benjamin had 1 child. They had Benjamin Jr. And then Dina passed away too, and the next wife was Jane, and together Jane and Benjamin had 1 child, Charlie. Then Jane passed away, and he moved on to his next wife, Rosa. Together they had 1 child. They had Mary. I think that's right. If I just double check it's not the other way around. Yeah, that's right. Right, and then Benjamin moved on to his last wife, unfortunately. Well, I say unfortunately because I didn't expect it to go quite the way it went, but it did. So Benjamin then married Rebecca, and this was his final wife, and it says they're both living there. It's somewhat true. Together, Rebecca and him had a lot of children. So they had their first twins. They had Gina and Nicholas. Then they had their next twins, Callum and George. Then they had their next twins, Jordan and Maxine. And then they had their final twins, Brendan and Thomas. Again, no triplets. And around the time of this, Benjamin passed away. He got resurrected as a ghost and remarried his wife, but that was a different timeline. Like, the Benjamin that's in the playthrough with Argo and that, this never happened. He doesn't have any of these children in a sense. But that happened, and that was chaotic. So with that, I was out of options. Either Rebecca could have married another man, but I decided to carry on the lineage with Benjamin Jr. So if we go to Benjamin Jr.'s family tree, he met Kimberly Starr, and they got married, and they started the journey as well. They had their first set of twins, Julie and Terry. Then they had their next set of twins, Edward and Martin. Then they had their next set of twins, Derek and Joanna. And finally, after all these tries, they finally had a set of triplets, Dennis, Ryan and Sean. It was a crazy journey, but finally it was over. As you can see, the family tree is quite massive. But what I got from it was the trophies, and I finally got to manage to complete the game 100%, so that was joyful. But anyways, I think I've covered all bases. I had planned to maybe make Molly be with somebody, but I don't know about that. But yeah, so this family tree in the Argo playthrough doesn't fully exist. It only exists up to Benjamin's first children, like Benjamin Jr., Molly, Millie, Charlie, and Mary. They're the only children that are like there. But if we go back to Rose thingy, go to Argo. I have fully enjoyed like playing through The Sims, but obviously I seem to have a real problem with constantly having children, getting married, things like that. I am desperately wanting to have somebody die, but there is only like one or two clear options, and they seem to be the older people like Arthur Fortune, Ruby Romance, and Robert Rose, but I just introduced Robert Rose, so I don't think it would be him. So anyways, with that, I hope you have enjoyed these free videos, if you watched all of them or whatever else. I don't really know how I'm going to edit this together, if anything like that, but I hope you have enjoyed. Until next time, or whatever I do, bye.